I walked into my best friend's house without knocking. She'd told me not to. "Come anytime, just walk in," she'd said. So I did. And what I saw hanging on that wall made my knees give out from under me. A wedding photo. My husband in a navy blue suit, smiling the biggest smile I'd ever seen on his face. Standing next to him in a white dress, holding purple flowers, was Keisha, my best friend of 12 years. Keisha. Before I tell you what I did next, I need you to understand something. I am not the woman who cries in parking lots. I am not the woman who begs. I am the woman who built a 7-figure business from a broken spreadsheet and a prayer. And when I tell you what they did to me and exactly how I handled it, you will never underestimate a quiet woman again. My name is Maya. 5 years ago, and I married a man named Derek through a family arrangement. And before you roll your eyes, just hear me out, because what this story is really about is not love or marriage. It's about what happens when a woman who knows her worth discovers how little everyone around her thought of it. Our families moved in the same business circles, and when they introduced us, I was skeptical. Derek was different from what I expected, though. He didn't show off. He just asked me questions and actually listened to the answers. Our wedding was intimate. I wore my mother's dress. He smiled through the whole ceremony. I didn't love him on that first day. Real love doesn't work that way. But I made myself a promise. I would show up completely. I would pour everything I had into this marriage, and I did. The love grew quietly, the way the best things always do. He learned how I took my coffee without asking. I learned that he hummed old R&B songs when he was in a good mood. The moment I knew I was truly in love with him was during the worst flu of my life. Fever so high I was hallucinating. And Derek sat next to our bed the entire night, pressing a cold cloth to my forehead, holding my hand even when I didn't know he was there. When the fever finally broke and I opened my eyes, he was still sitting there, exhausted, smiling at me. "I'm not going anywhere, Maya," he said. That was real. That meant something. What also became real was the state of his family's business. His father's real estate and import company was bleeding out quietly. When Derek asked me to just take a look at the books, what I found was beautiful chaos. Fake invoices, missed tax savings, suppliers overcharging by thousands, no tracking system, nothing. I spent 3 months rebuilding it from scratch, digitized everything, renegotiated contracts, found 6 figures in legal tax savings alone. Within 2 years, profits were up 40%. Derek would tell everyone, "Maya is the brain behind this empire." He meant it proudly, and to prove it, he gave me everything. Bank accounts, passwords, property papers, power of attorney. Complete access. Complete trust. That trust would eventually become the sharpest weapon I ever held, but not everyone was celebrating my role. Derek's stepmother, a woman named Vivian, had controlled the family finances before I came in. When I took over, I discovered why she'd wanted that control so badly. Fake invoices, inflated expenses, so money quietly siphoned into accounts that had nothing to do with the business. It was clever theft, and it might have continued forever if I hadn't pulled the books apart. I didn't confront her dramatically. I didn't make a scene. At a family meeting, I simply and very politely asked her about certain transactions, watched the color drain from her face, watched her stammer. And then I smiled and told her I would handle the accounts from this point forward. She never stole another cent, and she never forgave me for it. Vivian started working on Derek slowly, the kind of quiet poison you don't notice until it's already in your blood. At dinners, she'd sigh and say things like, "She's taken over everything, Derek. You're not even the man of your own house." She called me controlling. She told relatives I'd trapped him for money. Her favorite line, the one she repeated until it became background noise, was that I had been tied around his neck like a dead weight. But through all of it, I had Keisha. 12 years of friendship that felt like blood. She was there when I lost my father in college, held me while I sobbed for weeks. She helped me pick flowers for my wedding. We had standing coffee dates, late-night phone calls about everything and nothing. She knew all of it. The stress with Vivian, the pressure of the business. She even knew my account passwords because she'd helped me with paperwork when things got overwhelming. I trusted her with my whole life. Looking back, I can see exactly how she used every single piece of that trust. The shift in Derek started about 6 months before everything collapsed. Late nights with vague excuses. Phone calls behind closed doors. The warmth between us cooled like a house in winter. He forgot our anniversary for the first time in 5 years. When I tried talking to him about it, he'd snap. "You're overthinking, Maya. I'm just stressed." But stress doesn't explain new cologne. Stress doesn't explain why a man who never cared about the gym suddenly goes 5 times a week. Stress doesn't explain the way his phone would light up with a message and this slow, private smile would cross his face before he turned the screen away. The arguments started small and snowballed. He'd accuse me of being controlling, of smothering him, of making him feel invisible. He'd walk out mid-fight and sometimes not return until morning. Meanwhile, Vivian was suddenly warm and gentle with him, always nearby, always whispering things I couldn't quite hear. I saw her and Keisha at a cafe once. When I asked Vivian about it later, she smiled sweetly and said they were just discussing family matters. And Keisha, my Keisha, started running into Derek constantly. His coffee shop, his gym. Such a coincidence. She'd text me afterward. "Saw Derek today. He seems really stressed. Maybe I should reach out to him." And I, fool that I was, encouraged it. I told her, yes, please, talk to him. Help him. She started dressing differently too. More polished, more fitted, everything perfectly in place. When I noticed, she laughed and said she was trying to look sharp for a job interview. I believed her. Of course I did. 2 months before everything broke open, Keisha moved into a new apartment. She sent me photos of the empty rooms, asked about paint colours and furniture. She gave me a spare key. "Don't even knock," she said, "Oz. Just walk in like it's your home too." I never got around to visiting, until that Saturday. Derek had left early saying he had work to catch up on. The house felt hollow and heavy. I missed my best friend. On impulse, I swung by our favourite Italian place, picked up her favourite pasta, and headed over to surprise her. The building was modern and beautiful, nicer than I'd expected. I was genuinely happy for her. I used the spare key, pushed open the door, called out her name. The apartment smelled like fresh flowers. Everything was beautifully arranged, warm and lived in a way that took me a moment to process. I walked into the living room, and then time just stopped. Hanging on the main wall in a gold frame was a large wedding photo. Beach wedding. Sunset sky in orange and pink. Oh, the groom tall in a navy blue suit, the bride in flowing white holding purple flowers, her face absolutely radiant. The groom was Derek, my husband. The bride was Keisha, my best friend. My legs stopped working. I grabbed the wall. The pasta container hit the floor and red sauce spread across the white tiles like something out of a nightmare. But I could not look away from that photo. I kept searching it for a mistake, for anything that would tell me I was wrong. I wasn't wrong. That was his new haircut. That was a suit I'd never seen. That was her smile. The same one she'd given me 1,000 times, now turned toward my husband on their wedding day. If you've ever had the floor drop out from under your entire life, if you've ever had your past and your present rewrite themselves in a single moment, then you know exactly how that living room felt to me. And if you've never heard what happened next, you are going to want to stay right here at City of Tales because I promise you, the next part of this story is where everything changes. Subscribe now so you don't miss a single moment of what's coming. I walked through that apartment like I was underwater. Photos of them at restaurants, at parks, his arm around her waist like it was the most natural thing in the world. I walked into the bedroom because my heart already knew. His clothes hanging next to her dresses, his watch on the nightstand, his cologne on the dresser. The same cologne I'd been smelling on him for months. He wasn't working late. He was living there. With her. The front door opened. Keisha's voice. "Maya, is that you?" I came out of the bedroom slowly. She was standing in the entryway with grocery bags, her face completely drained of colour. She saw the spilled pasta. She saw my face. She saw me looking at the photo. Maya, I can explain. I didn't say a word. I just looked at her. It's not what you think, she started crying, setting the bags down with shaking hands. You married my husband, I said. My voice didn't even sound like mine. Flat, empty, carved out. Please sit down. Let me explain. How long? Maya. How long, Keisha? And something cracked open in my chest when I said her name. She flinched. The affair started 8 months ago. We got married 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago. While I was finishing the quarterly business reports at midnight, my husband was marrying my best friend on a beach somewhere. She kept talking. The words poured out of her. And buried inside all the apologies were accusations. She said Derek felt invisible, said he came to her because I was always working, always managing everything, always the one in control. She said she gave him what I couldn't. Freedom, she called it. She looked me in the eye and told me that being capable and hard-working had made me a bad wife. My tears stopped. Something inside me went completely still. Vivian knew, I said quietly. Keisha's silence was the answer. She introduced you properly, encouraged it. Probably helped plan the whole thing. She wants back into those accounts. She wants you out of the picture, Keisha admitted, wiping her face. The money, the business, all of it. She wants control back. I just wanted Derek. I picked up my purse. I need to go. Maya, wait. We have to talk about this. I walked out without another word, down the elevator, into my car, and I drove home through the city without crying, without screaming, without calling a single person. I just thought. And somewhere between one traffic light and the next, a plan formed in my mind. Clear, precise, and completely devastating. They expected fury, scenes, begging. They did not know who they were dealing with. For 5 years, I had taken a failing business and turned it into an empire. I had built systems out of chaos and profit out of nothing. I had learned to stay calm when everything was burning because that is when clear thinking matters most. Now I would apply every single one of those skills to the only project that mattered. When I got home, I sat at my desk and opened my laptop. I made a list. Every account, every property, every password, every investment, every legal document Derek had ever trustingly placed in my hands. He had given me power of attorney years ago for ease of business. He had never once thought about what that actually meant. Over the next 2 weeks, I was perfectly calm, pleasant. I cooked Derek's favourite meals when he came home, asked about his day, smiled. He'd come home that first night after Keisha called him in a panic, expecting a war. He found me stirring pasta sauce and humming softly. We need to talk, he said. About what? I replied, not turning around. Keisha called. She said you saw everything. The wedding photos? Yes, beautiful ceremony. I've always loved beach sunsets. The look on his face was almost worth everything I was going through. You're not angry? What good would anger do, Derek? You've made your choice. I can't fight feelings. I just want you to be happy. Relief spread across his face. He actually believed me. He told Keisha I was being mature about it. She texted me to say she was glad I was handling things with grace. Grace, that's what they called it. While they celebrated what they thought was an easy ending, I worked. I moved funds from joint accounts into accounts solely in my name. The power of attorney Derek had signed years ago legally allowed every transfer. I sold off stocks and moved the proceeds. I changed property records. I worked with a private attorney that Derek had never met, and every single step was airtight. He would bring documents to the kitchen table. Sign here, I'd say casually. He signed without reading. He'd been signing things I handed him for 5 years. Our why would now be any different. By the time I was done, his accounts held just over $3,000. Mine held everything else. I hired a private investigator. Within a week, I had hotel records, dated photos, retrieved text messages, and a complete documented timeline of the affair and the secret marriage. Then I turned the investigator toward Vivian. What came back was everything I needed. Messages between Vivian and Keisha planning how to dismantle my marriage. Bank transfers from Vivian to Keisha, payment for the whole operation, and buried underneath all of it, the original financial trail of everything Vivian had stolen before I took over those books. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Hidden in shell companies and ghost accounts. I built a file. Comprehensive, documented, completely legal. I called it the truth. On a Monday morning, I filed for divorce, citing adultery and fraud, with the full evidence attached. I filed a police report against Vivian with every receipt of her theft. I sent Derek's father the complete file on what his wife had been doing. I contacted every business partner personally and provided documentation showing I was now the sole owner of the company. Then I changed every single password, every lock, every access point, business accounts, office buildings, everything, all in one day. Derek got the legal notice at Keisha's apartment that afternoon. His call came 20 minutes later. "What have you done?" he screamed. "What you made necessary," I said. "That is my business, my money." "Check the paperwork, Derek. Your name is not on any of it. Every signature, every transfer, completely legal. You gave me power of attorney. You trusted me, remember?" He tried to get into the office. Locks were changed. He tried the bank. Accounts frozen pending divorce proceedings. He tried coming home. New locks. His lawyer confirmed what mine had already told me. Everything I had done was legal. Every document had his signature on it. He had handed me the keys to his entire life and never thought to wonder what I might do with them. Vivian was arrested that week. Derek's father handed over everything to the police. The evidence was overwhelming. Keisha lost her job when the full story came out. It turns out professional reputations don't survive that kind of scandal. And Derek and Keisha, the couple who had built their love story on someone else's foundation, found themselves broke, fighting, and completely unprepared for what real life together actually looked like. Derek showed up at my office 2 months later, thinner, tired. "I made a terrible mistake," he said. "No," I told him, "you made a choice. You chose her. You chose betrayal. Now, live with it." The divorce was final in 3 months. I kept everything that was legally, rightfully mine. Without Derek's distractions and Vivian's theft, the business grew another 30%. I expanded into 3 new cities. I started a foundation to help women build financial independence, because the most important lesson I learned through all of it is that love is beautiful, but security is yours to build and yours alone. People ask me sometimes if I'm lonely. I smile and tell them exactly what's true. I am complete. I don't need someone else to make me whole. And I still have that wedding photo. I keep it in my office drawer, and when I need a reminder of how far I've come, I take it out and look at it, not with anger, with clarity. Trust carefully. Document everything. Love fully, but always, always protect yourself. They thought my silence was weakness. They thought my calm was defeat. What they didn't understand is that the quietest person in the room is almost always the most dangerous. While they were celebrating their love story, I was writing the ending, and my ending was everything. If this story moved you, if you felt every single moment of what Maya went through, you already know this channel is where real stories live. Subscribe to City of Tales and hit that notification bell right now, because the next story we have coming will hit even harder than this one. But you do not want to be the person who missed it. We'll see you in the next one.